Welcome to the final episode of MSD's March Animal Health Series. I'm here this evening in Tipperary with farmer John Bourke and vet Dennis Howard from Munster Bovine. Well, John, tell us a bit about the farmer hand standing on here today.
The farm here on today is called Rackunican Dairy. We're a farm partnership between myself and my brother, Jimmy Bourke. We milk 380 cows, predominantly crossbred cows, changing back to Holstein bred cows now. We're in a partnership since 2009. Last year's breeding season went very well. We used SenseHub. We selected a program. We went with all 6 semen on the higher EBI cows, and from first lactation to third lactation. And we got conception rates of 65 to 70% in them and got on very well.
Great. And chatting about, I suppose, conception rates, Dennis, what are the kind of key performance indicators in your view that we need to be hitting?
Yeah, so to achieve that anyway is exceptional,
Yeah,
John. That's the first thing. So that's really good. I suppose, like the Bourkes here, they're a typical spring calving herd, so they want compact spring calving, and I suppose long days at grass, then a long lactation at grass. And to achieve that, you want a high 6-week calving rate, which they're achieving. They're getting over 60% 6-week calving. And I suppose if you break it down, that 6-week calving, what you're trying to do really is get 70% of the current milking herd in calf in the first 6 weeks. And then if you get all your heifers, you're running at around 20% replacement rate. So if you get all your heifers then calving in the first 6 weeks, you actually get to achieve that 90% 6-week calving.
Yeah, super. It sounds like you're doing all the right things, John.
We put a lot of effort into the breeding season. We before the breeding starts, we go through our cows. We select out our average EBI is 200 EBI here, and we select out the higher. Anything over that gets in first to fourth lactation or third lactation. They get a 6 semen straw in the first 3 weeks until we have our allocation used up. But it was very unusual this year to be getting beef straws, beef calves from the start.
Yeah, change.
Yeah, big change. Yeah.
And when will you start your breeding season there, John?
We'll start on the 25th of April, let's say, this year again.
Okay, so you have a while to go yet.
Yeah. Just
about done calving, says you.
Yeah, we're just 82% in 6 weeks calved.
Great.
So very happy. The getting to 50% of the herd is taking maybe 16 days, whereas we were hitting it in 14 days before. But that's because of the beef straws and the small leg there.
Yeah. And Dennis, just on the topic of sex semen, I suppose, maybe you could talk us through, I suppose, the key considerations when going for sex semen.
Yeah, I suppose the first thing with sex semen is it's a different product to conventional semen anyway. So the first thing is there's less sperm cells inside in the straw, so 15 versus 4 million. And they go through this sexing process, which is stressful on the sperm cells. So I suppose the viability is slightly lower. So if we want to achieve good results with sex semen, we need to up our game really as regards following some rules, as regards cow selection, timing, and semen handling. So I suppose the first thing is cow selection, and John touched on it there. You want to select, I suppose, healthy cows that have had no issue at calving or since calving, that are in good body condition, that are long enough calves, so 50 plus days calved, cycling regularly. So fertile, healthy cows in good body condition really. So that's the first thing is regards cow selection. The next thing is the timing of AI. So we need to be more precise with the timing. And the rule there is, they need to be gone off heat really. So no fresh cows really. So kind of 10 to 20 hours after the start of standing heat. And obviously the technology helps with that. And the third thing then is the semen handling. So more care required with thawing out the straws, thawing out less straws that they're getting into the cow quicker. So they're the 3 big things really: the cow selection, the semen handling, and the timing.
Okay. How did you fare with all that, John?
I found sex semen. I have a crush that maybe holds 5 or 6 cows, and I used to come out with maybe 4 or 5 straws with me, and I the 5 cows. But now, since 6 semen, I concentrate on only 2 straws at a time. And if I think a cow is going to be, if there's any issues with a cow, it'll be 1 straw at a time. And you have to be very careful. And as Dennis hit on, there's a lot of protocols that have to be in the handling and the time. And Sense-Up is very good. It gives me a window, and like while I might have a cow selected for 6 semen, she might get a beef straw because I've missed that window, or it's too early for that window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you find Sense-Hub allows you to maybe
Yes,
get your window more accurate, or?
Definitely. There's a second window on it that you can turn off when you're finished with your 6 straws, and that's a very good indicator when they're in heat and when the perfect timing for you. Like, and I put it down, I wouldn't have got the results only for Sense-Up.
Great.
Yeah.
And I think a key thing as well, Eleanor, is to actually select enough cows, so to give yourself a bit of a buffer, especially if there's once a day. So if you have 50 sex straws to use, maybe not to just hold yourself to 50 cows, to select 70, 80 cows even, so that if that to give yourself a bit of leeway as regards to timing.
Yeah, big time. So I suppose going on from that, have you historically used any synchronization protocols here, John, or have you had the need to since you've put in Sense-Hub?
With my heifers, we've a large amount of heifers here, maybe over 100 heifers every year, and we used to do synchronization programs, and a couple of years ago we pulled back from that because we found that everybody was under pressure the day they were AIing them, and especially with 6 semen and things like that, we found that we weren't happy with it. So we've collars put in our maiden heifers, and we have a trailer with a solar panel now following the heifers around, and every morning and evening the heifers are picked out of that on their window, and they're either given a 6 straw depending on their EBI, or they're given a beef straw, an Angus straw mainly.
Okay.
But with the cows, we've never done synchronization programs. We just with the Sense-Hub, we look at on maybe the 20th of April, we look at who hasn't come bulling and who should be, and the Sense-Hub gives us a window and gives us and the numbers of the cows that aren't, and we get them scanned for that.
Yeah.
And we find that very beneficial. We look at all our records, and we look at we go back around the 20th of April, and our EBI here is 200 EBI. So we generally select all the cows. We put into the computer, select all the cows over 200 EBI. We look at them and see how many we have, and I'm aiming for 100 heifers here from 6 semen, and if I can, generally 160 cows will get you that, or between 160 and 170. We'd select them cows. I put the cows through the crush, and I see if the cow is in good condition, is up to the score, and I have all the records checked to see is she after coming bulling, and is she calf more than the 50 days. And we put a little blue tag in the collar, the All Flex collar, and we when she comes in for EI, that alerts me that she's for 6 semen. Yeah. And that's how she's selected for 6 semen.
Perfect. I suppose the labour that used to be required for all of this has been somewhat reduced, hopefully anyway,
hugely reduced. It starts immediately in the morning, because at 6 o'clock in the morning the batch latch goes off in the field. We don't have to be in the field for maybe 20 to 30 minutes selecting cows that are in heat that day. We arrive here at 6:30. The cows are in the milking parlour for us. anybody can start milking. The drafting gate behind us will draft them out. Like some people say their gates are 90%, we say our gate is 110% because it'll put in an extra cow instead of losing a cow. So the cow is in the crush, she's calm, she hasn't to be, we're not running around the yard after her, so she's presented lovely for when you're going to serve the cow.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And you can pop into the office, you can look at SenseHub on the screen, you can plan, you can say, you know what you want for sex semen, you know what you want for beef. You go down, there's no messing down here. It speeds up your AI. We do AI twice a day, so you know exactly what's in the crush area, even if you're not there. Like, so it's a huge labour saving and takes stress out of the cows some amount.
Yeah, so double
us,
purpose.
Yeah.
I suppose, Dennis, you've probably seen a big jump to technology, and what do you see benefits to it?
Yeah, I'd reiterate what John is after saying. I think the big one actually is labour saving. You know, a very good person can still do a very good job heat detecting, but I think the big thing is if you combine it with drafting, is actually the labour saving, that it just keeps working regardless of what day of the week it is or what match is on or whatever, it keeps working. And then obviously as the season goes on, like heat detection is easier at the start. You know, in your herd there's going to be 20 or 30 cows a day coming on in the first 3 weeks. That should half at least anyway for the second 3 weeks. And as the season goes on, there's less and less activity, which makes heat detection, less mounting, heat detection gets harder. So I suppose, look, the technology keeps working right to the end. There's also the possibility, I suppose, of doing without a stock bull maybe. And keep AI to the end.
We have no stock bull now the last 2 years, which is
a lot of
phenomenal.
people are moving towards that.
Like, but even in the likes of calf sales, they're getting an Angus that is a polled Angus. They're getting a Hereford that's a polled Angus. They're getting an AI bred beef calf, like with the new figures for the beef men. Like, we have to, in the dairy sector, like, we have to produce a good beef calf.
Yes.
And like, you have different size cows as well. You have I have Jersey cows, like, and we have some Holstein cows, like, and you're able to select the beef bull for them, which is as important as a sex straw. Like, it's your small cow getting your Angus, and your big cow, you know, an odd one maybe gets a Charlie, you know, and tis for the calf man. There's great excitement when there's a Belgian blue in the pen in the morning. You know, it is
I think that's a huge thing actually. Is actually the choice of bull. I hope all the Anguses are polled anyway, John. That's the first thing. But yeah, there's lots of polled Herefords there. And then on those cows, those bigger cows, like you said, you know, that you can push out the boat a little bit on calving, and maybe go even for Continentals or Belgian Blues, and increase the value of the calf crop, and increase the potential profit for the next man by buying the calves, which is so important.
Well, it's to make the calf very saleable, like, to make for the beef industry. You know, you need a good quality beef calf.
You have to.
Yeah.
And I suppose, look, the big advantage of AI with those beef bulls is you can have your calving ease, you can have your gestation length, but also you can have a very good calf with a high beef sub-index and a good carcass value. You know,
Yeah, and look, the right size calf for the right size cow is going to stop any kind of lag in your next breeding season too. So that's important.
Yeah. No, you're dead right, Eleanor. That, like, you can have, even in Anguses, like, I suppose we have Anguses that are suitable for heifers, you know, and there's lots of other Anguses that we wouldn't say that are suitable for heifers. So the big thing is obviously the calving figure with lots of records behind them that we know they're easy calving. Whereas, you know, a more mature cow, a third, fourth lactation cow, you can push out the boat a little bit on calving and drive on the value of the calf a little bit without compromising on calving ease or gestation length, you know.
So moving on to, I suppose, nutrition in the breeding season. Dennis, what would be your recommendations there?
I think the big thing is to make sure, obviously, coming up to breeding, that was covered in a previous video, that you want to have cows arriving at the breeding season in good body condition. But equally then you want to keep them fed, you know, during the breeding season. Avoid them going into any negative energy balance, especially like a very bad evening this evening. So especially when the weather changes, grass is going to get wetter, dry matter is going to drop, intakes will probably drop, utilization will drop. So especially I suppose around those times, and a big thing is a great indicator actually is volume in the bull tank. So if volume starts dropping you're starting to worry. And the percentage protein as well in the bull tank, that's another great indicator. If that's starting to drop, you're starting to worry. So, look, try and know what grass there is going into them. You know, if you're measuring grass, how many kilos a day they're getting, and how much they should be getting, and then you're really trying to make up the difference with concentrates, you know.
Yeah, surely.
And especially, I suppose, something we're seeing a lot of probably as herds start to mature, and maybe herds expanded, and now they're starting to mature, and mature herds just produce more. You know, mature cows are more productive than the younger cows. So overall production is gone up, and a lot of those mature cows now are really pumping out milk solids. So to, you know, I suppose avoid underestimating what they should be getting anyway, to keep themselves fully fed.
Yeah, takes a lot to run that kind of an engine.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And what about, John, in terms of nutrition here during the breeding season? What do you aim for?
When we're a grass-based farm, we're 100% spring calving, so we aim obviously to get as much grass into the cows as we can, but we'll balance that. We grass budget once a week here, and hopefully they talk about magic day someday in April, but with the way the weather is this time of the year, this year, hopefully we'll get some warmth and some growth for grass, but we're managing the budget, managing the eat up along.
Good. I suppose going back to so our key performance indicators, Dennis, we're aiming for 90% of the first 3 weeks. Any?
Yeah, so submission rate is a key one anyway, to make sure that you're actually getting the cows bred, and I suppose that's all about heat detection. And it's one thing to submit them, but you want to make sure you're actually submitting them when they're in heat. So accuracy of heat detection. So I suppose if you don't have technology, the big thing is to use you know, some kind of heat detection aids, whether it is tail paint or scratch cards, and try and get the accuracy right that you're actually putting them in when they're actually in heat. And I suppose what to do then if you're not, you know, let's say 100 cows, compact calving, you should have, you know, 4 to 5, the bones of 5 cows coming in a day. If they're not coming in, what do you do? So I suppose there's 2 possibilities. They're either not coming into heat for whatever reason, maybe it is nutrition, John, like we were talking about, or the other reason is maybe you're missing them, that you're actually not picking them up, whether it is your heat detection aids aren't working or you're not observing often enough. So I suppose the big thing is to investigate at that stage if you're not hitting your targets as regards submission rate, to investigate. So is it your heat detection or is it something else, you know?
So that's when you might get your vet in to do a bit of scanning or examination.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's the time to get your vet in and actually investigate, like some of those cows that you haven't picked up after a week, or certainly after the end of the first 3 weeks, to go through your list of cows calved 35 days, not bred, to actually get them examined, get them scanned, see is there a reason behind it. And if there's not, I think even at that stage there's merit to getting those cows treated, maybe putting them on a fixed time AI program, and making sure they're going to be bred in 10 days after it.
Yeah, perfect. So a couple of questions into the audience that I just thought we'd finish up on. So one of them is short and sweet. What to do with fat heifers?
Fat heifers, or is it if heifers are too fat? Is it, or
must be? Yeah.
So I suppose you.
Well, there has been a general discussion on Twitter about heifers being over-conditioned and not going in calf.
Yeah.
They always say that it's their best heifers haven't gone in calf.
Yeah. The best conditioned heifers, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously we spoke about the target weights and having the target weights right for the type of animal, but you want to get there with good growthy heifers rather than fattening them to get to that weight, because fat heifers, they're going to be less fertile and they're probably going to be less productive in their lifetime. They're going to lay down fat in their udder and be less productive. So it's probably to get the nutrition right during the winter, so having the protein right, enough protein rather than too much energy, so that's the concentrate. And then, like, generally they don't fatten out in grass. If they're on good spring grass, they'll do a kilo a day, but it should be a kilo of good growth rather than putting on too much fat, you know.
Okay, thank you. So next question here is, how many bulls should you be selecting in your team?
So what we'll use you as an example, John. So you're using 160
sex, roughly 160 sex straws. I'm a member of the Greenfield group, and I've a couple of top buys in that, or so they say anyway, but they're very good to select bulls, and they go through my figures, and for the 160 we have we select 9 bulls.
Super,
and
so
they go through them. A lot of the top bulls are related, so there's a bit of jockeying around with taking them in and taking them out, but for us it's 9 bulls.
yeah, I suppose from a fertility point of view then, like the big thing with a team of bulls is all about reducing risk. So certainly some of the younger genomic bulls, their proofs may drop a bit, so you don't want to overuse any one bull and have too many heifers coming out of that bull. So that's the genetic part, but probably even more important is the fertility part, that you're using enough bulls evenly, not using a pile of one bull and then spreading the risk with the rest of them. So using a good team of bulls evenly, so that if one bull's conception rate isn't exactly where it should be, that it's not going to have too much of an effect on the herd.
Okay.
So I would say for your numbers, like you're talking, you're using loads in 9, but 7, you're probably safe enough with 7.
Thanks so much to Dennis and John for being here this evening. Great discussion all around. So that concludes the last episode of our MSD Animal Health series at Agriland. If you missed any of the episodes, you can watch them back on Agriland or on our YouTube channel at MSD Animal Health Ireland.